March 5th, 2022. Joe versus Carole and DC Thank You Tour. This was my calendar for the week. On Friday, 2/25, Dr. Jonathan Lopez of the Mohs Surgery Center removed the basal cell cancer from the side of my nose and got all the way down to clean margins. That meant a bigger hole in my face than I expected, and he had to slice a flap from nearby skin to cover it. That meant 7 stitches with black thread, so I look like Frankenstein's monster as I took on this past week's lobbying schedule. The bandaging made it look even more obvious, and I think a person's imagination is always worse than reality, so opted to remove the bandaging early on. There were about 10 meetings each day with either staff or the members, or both, and it was exhausting as we ran back and forth across from the House to the Senate. The Capitol was barricaded because of the State of Union address, so we had to pass via the Supreme Court. Just like the last 2 visits, we had to allot a lot of extra time between all of the visits because of the mobs of people who would either see me and want selfies or who saw that I was nearby from their social media posts and would come stalking for their pictures. Each of the offices had between 4 and a dozen staffers, and sometimes the members, to do photos with as well, but it was all worth it to get to talk to them about the Big Cat Public Safety Act. We were in Senator Loomis's office, and Joshua from Senator Mitch McConnell's office saw all the fuss and wanted me to come do photos in his office too. Much to my surprise, he brought in another aide and let Marty and I pitch him on the bill too. A meeting with leadership didn't seem possible, and yet here we were. We had another similar serendipitous encounter with 2 women from Representative Don Young's office, where they invited me to his office, warning that he had a lot of dead animals on the wall, but none were cats. Their aide on the environment joined us for a great meeting, and of course, photos. Little did they know that their boss is featured prominently in the conservation game as assisting Doc Antle in cub petting in the halls of Congress as an attempt to thwart our work a few years ago. We were told by Senator Cruz's staffer that it was the best meeting and most deferential treatment his boss has ever given anyone. He tried to make the argument that the only way to save any species is to hunt it, and I didn't have time to explain my plan for monetizing wildcats via live webcams, but it was probably as good as I could expect from someone like him. The best meeting Shelby Babosky and I had was in Senator Lee's office, where we had gone alone due to Marty Irby and Wayne Pacelli having conflicting appointments. We believe that Cruz, Lee, and Paul are the 3 in the Senate who might hold up a consent vote via a hotline, just because that's what they do on every bill, so they were high on our list. Wayne and Marty have visited with Senator Rand Paul and think he will not object, so I think we got this. Joe versus Carole. I posted this to Facebook today after Howie wrote up a version and I edited it to include his work and that of Jamie and my family at all. We were not consulted during the making of Joe versus Carole, but being public figures seems to mean that the media can pretty much say or do anything they want regardless of the facts. While we have gotten used to seeing ourselves on screen, and frequently taken out of context, it was even more surreal experience seeing ourselves portrayed by very famous and accomplished actors like Kate McKinnon, Kyle MacLachlan, and Marlo Kelly. They captured the essence of the love, support, and devotion to each other that Jamie and Howard and I share. Each episode started with a rather silly disclaimer screen saying that much of it was fictionalized and not intended to represent any actual person. Indeed, many scenes were written in ways that had only the loosest connection to what actually happened, and a few gave impressions that were the opposite of what happened. For instance, I did not crater the mediation deal Howard worked out with Joe Schreibvogel. Joe did. All I ever wanted was for the cub breeding and abuse to stop. If you didn't understand why cub breeding is causing the extinction of tigers, please read bigcatrescue.org/breedingkills. So many times in this production, and in previous productions, it seems the producers did not think the audience could understand that this is not just a feud between 2 characters. It is, and always has been, a struggle against the status quo, barbaric ways of treating big cats and causing their extinction. It's not one woman's hero journey, but rather the rising up of millions of people who share a vision of a world where all wildcats live free. None of the productions thus far have recognized the sacrifices by Howard Baskin, Veronica Murdock, my family, and all of the staff, volunteers, interns, and supporters of Big Cat Rescue in leading that effort, not even to mention the sacrifices by the cats themselves. At times, it was uncomfortable watching as our characters said or did things we would never dream of saying or doing, or as events were portrayed in ways that never happened. No one believes it, but Howie and I have never raised our voices to each other, nor treated each other with anything other than the utmost love and respect. I don't curse, I've never shot a bird at anyone, and I've never acted out aggressively other than in self-defense. By the way, the schoolyard bully I clocked with my briefcase was 18. I was 10. However, we feel the series did a good job of conveying some of the important overarching themes, like our passion and dedication to stopping the abuse, our personal, very supportive relationships, and the need for our federal bill, the Big Cat Public Safety Act. Along the way, there were a few places where we just busted out laughing, which was very nice as we watched, and I had to relive all this. My awkwardness in front of the camera, the gun and the alligator scenes, and of course our wedding, were all funny moments that were expertly conveyed. We were thrilled to see that they used only CGI tigers in the production, that's computer-generated images, and not live cats. I can't thank the team behind Joe vs. Carole enough for devoting 8 episodes of their time and talent to explaining why big cats shouldn't be bred for life in cages. Anyone who sees this should be able to understand that the first step to saving the tiger in the wild is to pass the Big Cat Public Safety Act before it's too late.
Hi, I'm Carole Baskin via my artificial intelligence avatar today, and I've been writing my story since I was able to write. But when the media goes to share it, they only choose the parts that fit their idea of what will generate views. These are my views and opinions. If I'm going to share my story, it should be the whole story. The titles are the dates things happened. If you have any interest in who I really am, please start at the beginning of this playlist. I know there will be people who take things out of context and try to use them to validate their own misconception, but you have access to the whole story, real and AI visuals from HeyGen, OpenArt, and other platforms. This video is for entertainment purposes only.